Welcome to Thru the Ringer. I'm your host, Tate Frazier, and if this is your first time, you're here for a great show. We got a good one. We got Anthony Dabbundo joining us later, but first and foremost, we got to say hello to Cousin Sal. Sal, good to see you, man. How are you?
Great to see. Don't ask me. How are you, Tate? I mean, we almost lost you last week, and luckily you seem to be recovered fully. You're smiling ear to ear. Doing okay?
Yeah, I'm doing great. Doing much better. We got through that show. We were back in studio. We survived. And now we're, not necessarily together, but we are together. We're joined by this beautiful screen in front of us. And we get to talk about and play my favorite game. Are you ready, Sal? Because I'm more fired up than ever.
You just needed to make it to March, right? And now you're in perfect ship-shape health. You can't come out now. March is your month, buddy.
It's the best month. It's my birthday month. It's where I want to be. It's where I need to be. Let's play my favorite game. Let's do some over-under reactions, and we start with this one. Speaking of the month of March, I say to you, Sal, the beginning of March is the worst part of the sports calendar. Over-under reaction. I wonder who wrote that one.
That's what I was trying to say. Yeah, this is the worst. Congratulations on being healthy. But all right. I'm going to say, I have to be careful here.
Okay,
so I'm going to say it's a little bit of an overreaction. But our producer, Jack, pointed out earlier that I consider every week outside of football the worst on the sports calendar. And yes, that's true. But this seems to be an especially bad one because it's post-combine. It's not yet NFL free agency, not yet conference tournaments, which you love in the NCAA and college basketball, meaningless NBA, meaningless NHL games for the most part. I'm not complaining, Tate. Yes, I am, but I'm not complaining.
Well, the good news is that you had the Oscars on Sunday night. Obviously, you've been connected to that for quite some time. And I say to you now, Sal's Demi Moore Best Actress loss was emotionally worse than his Chiefs Super Bowl loss. Over or under reaction? What say you?
I'm going to say underreaction. And by the way, if there was any question as to whether this is the most boring week, this is the topic we're leading with, Demi Moore.
Yes.
My betting on Demi Moore.
Oh, man, it was tough.
I don't want to say I lost a lot, but whatever she paid for her dress that night paled in comparison to what I dropped betting on her. They get their dresses for free for the most part. But the only favorite to lose, Tate, and I had her, and now I have to dig out, and I had to take a Demi day and not bet on Monday. Back to betting meaningless NBA and English Premier League soccer. So we'll get it back. But
you'll
Demi
get it
let
back.
me down.
Yeah, Demi let, it was basically the substance, the story of that film in real time. The younger actress, Honora, wins Mikey Madison over her. So a lot of people
Did they think that was out. Maybe, did the Academy all of a sudden get a sense of humor? Like, hey, you know what would be funny? She made this movie about how as an aging woman in Hollywood can't get a break. And now we get her to the finish line and we smack her across the face. Wouldn't that be something?
Yeah, that was
me with her.
Yeah, maybe that was a joke. That was Conan's writing team. They cooked that one up. It landed. Next up, Sal, the Giants would be better with Sam Darnold rather than Aaron Rodgers. Over or under reaction? A lot of people talking about what the Giants are going to do at the quarterback position.
I'm going to say underreaction. But it is a matter of which New York repeat mistake is better. Yeah, But I don't think Sam Darnold lost his team games, except for maybe the last one or two. Aaron Rodgers did plenty. And I know it sounds like we're picking on him because we are. He sucks the oxygen out of any organization.
Oh, they're clipping this.
They're clipping it for sure. Yeah. They're going to run it. I mean, Joe Shane's son, if they sign Aaron Rodgers, Joe Shane's son might run away from home, and that'll be it for good. But I love that he's a surefire Hall of Famer and now looking to set a record for most losses at MetLife Stadium ever. That would be fun if he did that, wouldn't it?
Yeah, what a ride that would be for Aaron Rodgers in New York City. There's also some talks that Sam Darnold might go back to Minnesota, so that might keep us from Darnold going to New York, but we'll keep an eye on that. Next up, Shedeur Sanders, a guy who wore New York Giants cleats in his bowl game. I say to you, Sal, Shedeur Sanders will fall outside of the top 5 in the NFL draft. Over or under reaction?
Oof. I'm going to say overreaction. I don't think it's going to happen. Quarterbacks are so coveted in this day and age, right? You have to do a lot more than skip combine and offer interviews that suggest you're arrogant and brash to lose draft value. By the way, I wonder where he got that from, the arrogance and the brash attitude. Wow, we're stunned by this all of a sudden. It's Deion's son. Basically, though, you have to be caught wearing a scuba mask smoking weed, and even that doesn't do it. Laramie Tunsil had a nice career. But, I don't think he falls at a top 5. Deion would throw too big a fit The league doesn't want problems with him. He would pull his son back to Colorado for a year if that happened.
I think the only way that he does fall out of the top 5 is if he goes number 7 to the Jets. You know what I mean? Like, regardless, he's going to end up being the quarterback of one of these New York teams, the Jets or the Giants. They'll figure it out, and Primetime will be right there coaching, I'm sure, in a couple of seasons. Next up, Sal, Barry Switzer should replace Jimmy Johnson on the Fox NFL studio show. Over or under reaction?
Jimmy Johnson stepped down. I'll say slightly overreaction. I looked it up. Switzer's 87 years old.
He can do it.
Which is 9 years younger than Terry Bradshaw still. But no, listen, I love Jimmy Johnson. I worked with him at Fox. You know that it's rumored that he plays 3 $10,000 hands of blackjack at once? I mean, I know he did the marlin fishing and everything, but as if he wasn't already my favorite Cowboys
Well, now we know
coach.
why he works so hard, Sal.
Exactly. He has to keep working. Just betting 10 times for each hand. Jason Garrett stuck to the nickel Keno machines. That's why I never got into him. But yeah, we'll miss Jimmy Johnson.
Absolutely. He retired and told Colin Cowherd on the Herd. I'm sure that's exactly how Jimmy envisioned his last retirement moment there. Next up, we're going to stick with the NBA. I know Sal's very happy about this. Lakers-Cavs would be a more interesting NBA Finals matchup than Lakers-Celtics. Over or under reaction, Sal?
Proper reaction, because
like
it's exactly the same interest level for me. If it's Lakers-Cavs or Lakers-Celtics. Or Lakers, I don't know what Hornets. I don't know what it would have to be. But, well, the problem is if it's Lakers Celtics, they'd have to add 3 parts to the Simmons doc.
That's
right?
true.
It's like this is
from 9 parts to 12 parts. There you go.
Yeah, this could get crazy. This is now a 29-part doc focused on Peyton Pritchard twisting his ankle in Game 6. So I don't know. Maybe the average NBA fan wants Lakers Cavs because it's interesting for the LeBron against his old team. But I feel like the NBA would go with Lakers Celtics every year for the next decade.
I feel like if it's Lakers Cavs, LeBron's going to take credit for either one. If the Cavs win, he's going to say that's a championship for me because I made the Cavs possible as a champion. If the Lakers win, obviously he's going to be a champion. So I think that would be a win-win. The Celtics, they could make a new doc if they draft this guy Cooper Flagg, Sal. So I say to you, Cooper Flagg,
yeah,
he will be 1 and done, and Duke will be 2 and done in the NCAA tournament. Over or under reaction? Your thoughts on that?
All right. I think it's the second part's an overreaction. He's a 1 and done. He'll go to the NBA. By the way, you can get good odds if you think the Dukies get bounced after the first weekend, which is what you're suggesting here, just by reading the question. They are minus 150 to make the Final Four. So it's a big plus money to suggest that they're going to lose the first Saturday or Sunday whenever they play that second game. They're young, but I think they're too good. So if they lost that third game, Tate, that means they're likely going up against a 4 seed or a 5 seed. Who's a 4 seed or 5 that could run with them? I know anything could happen. It's a basketball game. I mean, what do you think? Missouri, A&M, one of those teams could beat Duke in that third game? I
think Missouri would be a good matchup. They got some Mark Mitchell crossover, a guy that transferred from Duke and now one of the best players on Missouri. So maybe there's some, like connective tissue where they have a nice little matchup. But I will say when they dropped the original brackets about 3 weeks ago, obviously St. John's is bumped up there more in the 2-3 range. But originally they had it in Newark where St. John's was playing Duke in the 1-4 game in the Sweet 16. And that would be cinema, Sal. That would be a lot of fun to watch. Yeah, Rick Pitino versus Cooper Flagg. That'd be fun.
All right. Yeah. That'd be fun.
Yeah,
let's do it.
We'll see what happens.
Can we do it?
Yeah.
They have to.
I'm going to hit the button. We have a button right here. I can hit this button and we can make it happen. I'm going to do it. Last one, Sal. The MLB. This is a Bill Simmons idea. The MLB should get rid of the protective netting down the baselines. Over or under reaction? Bill said, bring your gloves and fight for your life out there during all these baseball games.
I'm doing a 47-part documentary on the protective nettings. Hey, you know what? Let them just do it in Boston. Let's do it without the nets in Boston. Let the Red Sox risk a broken jaw, the Red Sox fans, broken jaws, and let us know how it turns out. Now, listen, I have to agree with the sportsish guy here. I think it's an underreaction. It's disappointing walking into a stadium if you have good seats or any seats and then realizing you're going to have to watch the game through a giant cargo net. But I don't know. Can we come up with something that's not as intrusive of the net, but that doesn't leave a half a dozen fans leaving with busted orbitals because they're playing Candy Crush on their phone? Can we, in this day and age, 2025, have a clearish net or something. I don't know. I'm not smart, Tate, but somebody's got to have an answer to this.
Well, don't we have bulletproof glass? Why can't we put up bulletproof glass that we can see through easily? And
glass is see-through. You're right.
Yeah, just like in hockey, but it's bulletproof glass so that a baseball doesn't break it, and then we can see through it, and there's no netting, and everybody's happy. I feel like
I don't think it needs to be bulletproof. Just
baseball proof.
It's not like the catcher's turning around with an AR-15, But you're right. Yeah.
Well, maybe we come up with a new glass, baseball-proof glass, and then
baseball-proof glass. Listen, honestly, kids in the neighborhood, parents, homeowners would love a baseball-proof glass if you're playing in the street and stuff.
My mom still remembers. I broke 14 windows during my childhood throwing the ball off our house. Yeah, playing wall ball. So,
Mama Frazier would have appreciated baseball-proof glass.
Yeah, we're going to start this company. Let's call the Riverboat captain. He's probably got some money where we could start this company. He's got a question for us, Sal, and he's asking a simple one. Which sports team deserves a 9-part documentary series next? And we got the odds here. Again, it's got to be 9 parts. You got to have enough for a 9-part series.
Okay.
The favorites, your Dallas Cowboys at 3-1. Right behind them, the New York Yankees at 7-1. We got the Indiana Fever with Caitlin Clark 25-1. We got the Savannah Bananas, which a lot of people are in love with these days, at 50-1. And we got the Field at even odds. What say you, Sal? What documentary do we need?
Savannah Bananas would be fun. You could go Field and maybe go last year's White Sox, 9-part, maybe 1 part for every win they had. But I am going to go chalk here, Cowboys 3-1, the early 90s Cowboys, because they were so dysfunctional and so successful. And it would just be nice to see the Cowboys score touchdowns and win on my TV, even if it is from highlights from 33 years ago, whatever it would be. And maybe, who knows, maybe there's footage out there of Jerry Jones and fuzzy negligee and handcuffs at a downtown Hilton in Dallas. But I think it would be fun. Michael Irvin narrates the whole thing. Arrests are made. Let's go. How about them Cowboys? How about that 9-part documentary?
I like that. We need you interviewed for that 9-part documentary. We also need a scene where Jimmy Johnson is putting in his blackjack money and bets on the table. That would be good. I'm going to stay in Dallas. I'm going to take the Dallas Mavericks right now. I need to see how this Luka trade happened. I need to see the fallout from the Luka trade. I need to see the fans turning on the franchise. I need to see Anthony Davis as soon as he gets there getting injured. I need to see Kyrie Irving and the drama of his injury as well. I feel like we got more than 9 parts for this Dallas Mavericks situation between Mark Cuban selling and where we stand today from the finals run, Sal. That's a good documentary.
I like it. I think you could just even do 2 of those parts just on Anthony Davis, just laying prone on the hardwood, face down.
Yeah, part 1, part 2. That would be good. And now I turn it over to you. You're going to set some lines for us, Sal. Is that right?
Oh, I am? All right. Yeah, let's do it. Okay. Now this, you cannot find this on FanDuel anyway. I have to say that because people get mad. They go looking for these. But how about this? Over under 3.5 years before Timothée Chalamet wins an Oscar. That's for you.
I'm going to go over. I think he's going to get the Leo DiCaprio treatment. I think they're going to string him along. Wow. They're going to dangle the carrot every single year. Every single couple of years, we're going to have that performance where we say, this has got to be the one. Catch me if you can. It's got to be the one. Everybody loves it. Tom Hanks is in it. He's going to win. And he doesn't. I feel like that's going to be the Chalamet journey. And they're going to string him along. And then eventually he's going to, go into whatever Mexican director's movie that is hot, the flavor of the day. And he's going to win that Oscar in about 25 years.
Look at you.
Yeah, I'm going to go over.
I feel like, I think that's a good number, 3.5. I think maybe it would be, obviously it depends on what roles he takes, but he already could get the thing. He's got the thing down where he could smoke and stare. And that is very important. If you could smoke, Tate, and stare, you're halfway to getting the trophy right. That was between him and Adrian Brody. Adrian Brody smoked and stared better. So there you go. Yeah, I would say that. All right. I got I do another thing you bet is he going to run out of what's he going to run out of first? Pastel suits or Kardashian? So we got to figure that out. Yeah.
That'd be good. Right, mine is also 3.5.
Same thing. Over under 11.5 hours spent by you, Tate Frazier, watching Atlantic Sun Conference Tournament games this week.
I'm going to go under on the ASUN. Even though I like Lipscomb, I think they're a good team. I picked Lipscomb to win this tournament, and I think they will. I'm going to be watching the Big South. That's the tournament I'm most fascinated in. High Point, North Carolina. Shout out to High Point. They never made the NCAA tournament. They got a really good team this year. So I'm locked in. And I'm also going to be watching, the March to the Arch, the MVC. A lot of good small-time tournaments happening right now, Sal. So
I love it.
I'll take the under,
It's a fun week. Have you ever seen Lipscomb play live?
Yes.
You have.
This week.
What? What do
Yeah.
you mean this week? No, live. I mean in the arena.
Oh, live in the arena.
Yeah,
No.
Okay.
No.
Is that a bucket list thing? Do you
Yes.
even know where Lipscomb is?
I
Do you
gotta
know where it
go.
is?
I gotta go find Lipscomb, and I gotta go to their gym, and I gotta go watch them play. They're a really good team.
Head towards Nashville. I think that's where it is. I did some research. All right, one more here. Over under 4.5 years before Pete Rose is inducted into the Baseball Hall of Fame.
Ooh, I'm gonna take the under. I think it's happening maybe within the calendar year. I don't know your thoughts on this, Sal, but I feel like now that he has left us, I feel like they're going to finally give him what he always wanted. That's how it works.
That's what they needed to do. I think the Hall, I would say over. I think the Hall has dirt on him. They choose not to uncover. I mean, he was so miserable about it. And sure, it's probably not fair that worse people were honored in Cooperstown, but if it means that much to our commander in chief, give him a statue at the airport in Greenland or something. But I don't think he's going to Cooperstown.
He's not going to Cooperstown.
My thoughts.
Yeah,
No,
final one.
I don't think so.
And shout out to Lenny Acuff. I was trying to make sure I got his name right. That's the head coach of Lipscomb. I just wanted to make sure that he gets some love. You know what I mean? Give him some love.
Yes, it's very important. Baseball should throw him in there and Lenny Acuff in their Hall of Fame
I
before
think
Pete
so.
Rose.
I think
That would be
so.
fun.
Shout out to Lipscomb. We're going to take a quick break. When we come back, we got some more fun and some more line look aheads with Cousin Sal. We'll be right back. Welcome back to Thru the Ringer. We're here with Cousin Sal. We just had some fun at the top of the show. Got to play my favorite game. I don't have a migraine this week, so I'm completely locked in. We got college basketball happening. March Madness is here. Sal, just, as far as your calendar, what you're watching, what is at the top of your dock? You know what I mean? What is something that you're automatically locked in on this week? I know we had the Oscars. We're past that. Is it college basketball tournaments? Because I feel like it has to be at this point.
Yeah, I do. I like taking the 1 seed against the 8 seed in these garbage tournaments. Sorry, I didn't mean to disparage any of these tournaments, but you know what I'm doing, and parlaying them together. And that's a lot of fun. We have UFC we're going to talk about later. And I also collected on no migraine for Tate at minus 450. So that's good. That's a bet I hope to keep winning.
Yeah, I hope so too. Let's keep hitting that one. Let's do a line look ahead. Let's do our college hoops play of the day. If you kept up with us last week, I had Maryland winning at home against Michigan State. And if you watched that game, you saw Trey Holloman hit the shot of the season, a half-court heave to win that game. So that was a bet ache, to say the least. You won last week, Sal, so you're on a hot streak.
I think I had Kentucky over Oklahoma bouncing back after a loss.
That was a good one. Oklahoma's only won 4
SEC is where
games.
it's at.
Yeah.
We got a couple SEC games here, don't we?
Yeah, we got a couple SEC games. One that you really like. We'll start with you. You like Ole Miss, right, Sal?
Well, here's the thing, Tate. I have a super sweet parlay going courtesy of FanDuel with Florida and Tennessee to both get 1 seeds. Now, for that to happen, Houston's got to back out. They have to start losing. They'll probably have to be a first round exit in their conference tournament. And even then, they might not get there. But that pays so much, Florida, Tennessee. And Tennessee had that huge win over Alabama this weekend. So this is where that parlay goes to crap. They're going to loaf a little on this trip to Oxford, Tennessee is. The Vols have won 9 out of 10. They haven't played in a year when Tennessee whooped them by 26. So it makes sense that they'd steamroll the Rebs, but I'm taking Ole Miss plus 3.5 Wednesday night. They want to stay in the mix. They end with Tennessee and then at Florida. Chris Beard's going to want to split these and kill my parlay at least. Sean Padula goes off like he did the other day versus Oklahoma, 77-70 final. I'm taking Ole Miss plus the points and just to win on the court.
I like it. I like that both of us are kind of going for letdown games a little bit here, where Tennessee's coming off the Meshack madness, and then Ole Miss can maybe catch them there. This past night, the Auburn game last night, it was the sort of the same idea. I'm going to take Florida plus 3.5 over Alabama. I do think this season we talked about Auburn and Alabama. They become like basically the de facto Carolina Duke, for lack of a better term, of this season of college basketball. But Florida has been the thorn in the side of both of these programs. They blew out Auburn. I think that Alabama is a bad matchup, and I think Florida's going to go on the road and get a nice win. It kind of reminds me of like the early 2000s or late 90s, where it's like Carolina and Duke existed, but Maryland was right there. And then every single time Maryland would come in and just create some chaos. I feel like Florida's going to do that for these two teams, and I like Florida plus 3.5 in that one. So
let's do it.
Yeah,
let's
get
3.5. Let's sweep here.
College hoops play of the day. We're locked in the SEC. Now let's flip it. Let's talk about the WCC line look ahead and look at some of the futures WCC tournament tournament winner. We have the bracket here. If you haven't ever seen the WCC bracket, it's like the flying V. So the top 2 seeds basically get all the way buys to the semifinals, then everybody beats themselves up to get there. So Gonzaga, St. Mary's is the 1 seed. Gonzaga's right there behind him as the 2 seed. Who do you like in the WCC, Sal, to win this tournament?
Well, first of all, we have to assume Gonzaga is a real school, even though my cousin Jimmy conclusively proved that as a fictional institution.
They were upset about that. I had some Gonzaga people reach out to me. They said they do exist.
They don't like it. How do you know? Did you write back, are you a bot? I mean, did you give them the test? Did they have to pick the street lights and everything? This is a weird year in the WCC, right? Last week, as late as last week, Gonzaga was 3rd in the conference. San Francisco was even ahead of them. And even now they're a 2 seed and still favored. I'm going to take the Gales of St. Mary's. They won 7 in a row. They're 17-1 in conference. They beat Gonzaga twice in February. What am I missing here, Tate? Give me Augustus Marshallonis and the Gales to get this done. Jump into the real tourney as a 4 or 5 seed.
I think the people and the odds makers obviously are just betting on the fact that St. Mary's can't beat Gonzaga 3 times. Obviously, that's the whole idea behind this. But I do think that St. Mary's is the best team in the WCC, and I don't see why they can't beat them 3 times. They've been able to control the pace of that game. Gonzaga likes to get out and transition and run. St. Mary's does the exact opposite, and both times they've been able to dictate the game because of Marshallonis. So I like St. Mary's as well at plus 155. The fact that you can get the Gales with plus money, that's really good stuff. So WCC tournament, we will be watching. It will be in Las Vegas. That will be a lot of fun. And also, you got Oregon State in it this year, Washington State, right? These former Pac-12 programs. So a very fun WCC tournament. San Francisco, another really good team. Santa Clara as well. Let's track to the future. Rookie of the Year, Sal. This is trending closer and closer to almost being a done deal, but it keeps going back and forth. Who do you like here for Rookie of the Year?
Yeah, if we go over on time, I'm not going to suggest we cut this one because you're right. By next week, it might be out of hand. So we can't go back to it. Steph Castle's minus 195. Jalen Wells is plus 350. And I'm sticking with my preseason pick, Alexander Sarr. He's 30-1, and he doesn't have a chance. No, I have to go off. I have to say Steph Castle. I mean, they squared off the other night, he and Jalen Wells, and Castle got the better of him, scored 24. Memphis got the better of that deal because they grabbed Wells with the 39th pick, where Castle was 4th. But odds speak volumes at this point. Barring an injury, I think it's Castle, 22-24, 32 last 3 games, averaging 6 boards, 5 assists over that stretch. And he's coming off the bench, too. He's a bench player since the De'Aaron Fox deal. So it's not fair that his name is Steph also. So he's going to win this.
I think so. And obviously they were, a guy who was on the UConn team last year that was very well-known entity. Jalen Wells, I had him at plus 3,500 to win Rookie of the Year. It just felt like a fun thing to do. But, at plus 380, the fact that he has gotten all the way into real conversation. He was my favorite hidden gem in college basketball last year at Wazoo. So the fact that he's in the conversation, that's encouraging.
No, forget that. You got to hedge. I'll teach you how to do this with Castle-minded.
Help me out, so I need
35-1 you're about to collect. Come on now. All right, we'll figure it out.
We'll figure it out. We'll do some work. Let's track to the future here. Let's do team to select number 1 overall in the 2025 NFL draft. If you go to FanDuel, you can see sort of the 2025 NFL draft props starting to trickle in a little bit. Team that is going to make the selection right now, obviously, is the Titans, who have the number 1 pick. They're the favorites at minus 170. But Sal, you like someone else potentially making a move, or do you like the Titans to stand pat and make their pick?
Well, you seem to know what I like, so why don't you just tell everybody? I don't know. You like this. You don't like this. I would stick with the Titans at minus 170. There's a lot of talk about the Giants trading up, because they didn't they were out of the Stafford lottery or whatever you would want to call that. But I think the Titans keep it and take Sanders or Ward. I mean, that first game last year, Will Levis versus Caleb Williams, tells you all you need to know about where they need to go with a quarterback. I mean, Levis looked like the rookie, and they don't, want to be the organization that takes a quarterback 2 out of every 3 years, but they haven't really committed, right? Well, Will Levis was the 33rd pick. Malik Willis was a 3rd round pick. So I don't think the front office gets killed by another quarterback pick. They already said they won't pass on a generational talent, most likely because there isn't one this year. I wish them a lot of luck either way, but I say they keep that first pick.
Yeah, and I feel like if you're just a general fan, you have the number 1 pick, you immediately go to the number 1 quarterback and you say, why aren't we going to take this guy? Cam Ward passes the eye test as far as selling himself and marketing himself. You've had a run there with a Vince Young type quarterback who's been able to win with Chris Johnson in the backfield. So there is a bit of a template there potentially. Steve McNair as well. So, I like the Titans going there with the number 1 pick. Next up, line look ahead, UFC 313, Pereira versus Ankalaev. I hope I'm pronouncing pronouncing that correctly. Pereira.
Pretty good.
Pretty good.
He's the coach of Lipscomb, right?
Yeah, I think so.
Okay.
I think so. He's going to be in the Baseball Hall of Fame, one or the other. Minus 122 for Pereira. Ankalaev is minus 104. Who do you like? UFC 313, Sal?
All right, well, we'll hit the main event on Cousin Sal's winning weekend later in the week. I'm sorry, but I have to do that. But there is a fight on the undercard, by the way. This is a prelim. Kanaev plus 230. Rizvan Kanaev over Curtis Blades. These are the big boys going at it. This fight was moved from a couple months ago, and I like Kanaev as a live dog. He's not as experienced, but he has great knockout power. He earned that spot on the UFC roster with a first-round knockout in Dana White's Contender Series. He's from Dagestan. Ever been? By the way, great barbecue joints in Dagestan.
Love
you got to
Dagestan.
check it out.
Great place.
Once you're done with Lipscomb, jump on a flight. I think there's a direct. Give me Kanaev with the surprise victory over the 5th-ranked heavyweight Blades.
I like that. That was a great pick. No notes there. Let's track to the future. No notes, Sal. Let's track to the future. Winning state of the 2025 World Series. This is just a fun prop bet. Looking at the odds, California is the favorite, or I guess they're tied with the big three here. So California plus 210. Any other state, DC or Canada, is also plus 210. Then we got New York at plus 410. Winning state of the 2025 World Series. What do you like, Sal?
Is Canada a state? How is FanDuel posing this question? I got to go New York, baby. This is the John Jastrzemski special, plus 410. I get the Mets. I get the Yankees. I get the Brooklyn Dodgers, I think. Did they move? California, I see why it might be worth it. You get 5 teams, 4 if you don't count the Athletics, but I can't go against New York. And if the Yankees win, I'm going to donate the winnings to the American Foundation for the Blind because I'll likely have plucked my eyes out getting there. So in disgust. So there we go. New York, plus 410.
I like it as well. I'm with the JJ train. I like the number at plus 410. And also, if you're a Mets fan, you're right. Like, this is a smart way to kind of hedge your feelings where if the Yankees are going to win, at least you get paid plus 410 on whatever bet you want to put in. So I think that's a really good call. Sal, last thing before we let you go, Tate debate. I feel like this is no debate, but I just want to say this to everyone out there. It's a mistake if you wait until Selection Sunday. It's already midway through March. It's going to be on 316 this year. You're only going to get 2 weeks of madness. So if you want to be a part of the full range, the full spectrum of March Madness and watching these teams and learning about these teams and watching their full journey from conference tournament to the actual tournament to the biggest Cinderella upset you've ever seen in your life, start the journey now. Start the ride. There is really no debate, but the Tate debate this week is basically don't wait. It could be too late. Enjoy the madness. Enjoy the run. And I know you get it, Sal. I'm just saying this to all the viewers out there.
You said it's not a debate. Yes. No debate. Listen, make plans to join us in Las Vegas. That's what you could do between now and March 20th and 21st, where we'll be at the Jimmy Kimmel Comedy Club. Watch party right there. Free to get in. There's prizes from 4 to 10. It's me. It's you. It's comedian Brett Ernst. It's our friend Harry. It's Kenny Mayne. Lots of fun.
Wow.
Lots of laughs. Thousands of dollars in prizes. We're going to play games. Probably not your favorite game. It doesn't translate in Vegas. But Tate, good times. Do that. March 20th and 21st. Join us in Vegas.
I can't wait. It's going to be a great time. We got nephew Kyle, producer Kyle is going to be there helping us out as well. So we got a lot of good characters. I didn't even know about Kenny Mayne, so I'm very excited about that. We can get
Does
Kenny
he go
Mayne.
by nephew or producer Kyle? I call him producer sometimes.
I call him producer too. I feel like when you're trying to son him, you can call him nephew every once in a while. But Sal, where can we find all your amazing work, and then we'll let you go enjoy the rest of your day?
Against All Odds and the Ringer Podcast Network, a couple times a week. It's me and the D3, and then Cousin Sal's winning weekend Friday morning right here on FanDuel TV. Jay Billis will join me.
I love it. Go check that out. We're going to take a quick break. When we come back, we got the Ringer's very own Anthony Dabbundo. Welcome back to Thru the Ringer as promised. Joining us now to talk some soccer or football, depending on highbrow you want to be on this show. He is the Ringer's very own Anthony Dabbundo. Welcome back to the show, man. Good to see you. Long time.
It's good to be back. We're entering one of the best, I think the second, maybe first best month of the sporting year with, the Champions League and baseball right around the corner. And of course, March Madness. So excited to be here and talk through all of it really with you.
Yeah, you and I both have bracket brain is what ESPN seems to be calling it. You have Champions League or you have March Madness bracket brain. Right now it is small-time conference tournaments that are happening. We'll talk about those a little bit later. Let's start with Champions League because we got some good games and we got some fun matchups. You wrote a great piece on theringer.com. Go check that out right now if you're listening to us. But Bayern Munich versus Leverkusen. This is Bayern Munich is a team that everybody seems a little bit hot on, but you think that they're on fraud watch. Why and what do you like about this matchup?
Yeah, so if you just look at like expected goals numbers and you look at the statistical profile, you would think Bayern should be one of the 2 or 3 favorites to win this entire competition, but they don't really pass the eye test. And there's a ton of familiarity between these two teams. Bayern Munich and Leverkusen have played 5 times in the last 2 years. Leverkusen has won 2, drawn 3, lost none. They've had a good head-to-head record. They were, of course, the team that unseated Bayern's winning streak in the Bundesliga last season, winning the league. And I think Leverkusen's flying under the radar just a little bit because, they're not quite as dominant on the standings, but they, for me, pass the eye test. So right now, like the betting markets have Leverkusen at plus 140. I think this is a true coin flip matchup. They played last month. It ended 0-0, but Leverkusen outshot them 15-2. Like this is not really a huge gap. And I think, Bayern is on fraud watch because some of their performances against maybe the top end teams that they played this season, Barcelona and Leverkusen, have not been as good as we thought they might be.
Yeah, and some questions about the managers. 2 managers that are very familiar. If you played a game like FIFA 2011, Vincent Kompany, Xabi Alonso, they'll be going head-to-head in this one. And like you said, a showdown between 2 very, very elite German clubs. Let's talk about the other game that we want to focus on. PSG versus Liverpool. Liverpool is minus 188 to advance. PSG plus 152. PSG, you deemed them the team that nobody wants to play. Why is that?
It is a cliche, but PSG struggled through the first half of the season, and all of their biggest games at Arsenal they lost 2-0, at Bayern they lost 1-0, lost to Atletico Madrid 2-1. So a lot of people thought, same old PSG. Of course, they lose Kylian Mbappe, so a lot of people are like, this will probably be a rebuilding, retooling year for PSG. And then December and January and February happened. The last 3 months, you could make a strong case that the 2 best players in the world are in this game. Mo Salah for Liverpool, Ousmane Dembele for PSG. He's a winger turned striker, 21 goals in his last 17 appearances. And really, you combine that with the guy who replaced Mbappe, Bradley Barcola, putting up unbelievable numbers in his replacement role. And all of a sudden, there's still questions because we haven't seen PSG do it against an elite team. They beat Man City, but that's about it on their resume. A lot of wins against okay French teams. Can PSG do it against, the consensus top 2 or 3 team in the world, the team that's going to run away with the Premier League? And Liverpool's got a lot of Last Dance vibes to them with their current construction.
Yeah, Mo Salah is a man on fire. We'll talk about Liverpool in a minute and their EPL standings. But best bet for Champions League right now, if we look at the odds, Real Madrid, usual suspect there as the favorite at plus 333. Barcelona right behind them at plus 450. And there is a collision course for the first time in history, right, where we could see a Champions League final with Real Madrid and Barcelona facing off. Very Duke, North Carolina in the title game. Is that possible, and do you think that's going to happen?
So Real did get a big win on Tuesday night against Atletico Madrid. They're crosstown rivals. They're going to be up 2-1 going to Atletico next week. So that'll be tough. I mean, you can't betting against Real Madrid in this tournament is kind of like betting against the Chiefs. You never feel good doing it, and they might lose, right? Like the Chiefs lost Super Bowl. They got embarrassed. But Real Madrid, they always find a way to find the late goal, to just get over the top, to make the big save. And Barcelona's kind of been in the Champions League in Europe, the opposite of that, where they really underperformed. But this is, I think, the most talented attacking group in the world. Mo Salah's maybe the best player right now in the world. But when you combine Lamine Yamal, 17 years old, with Pedri in the midfield and Lewandowski and Rafinha, who's had an incredible year, they have the best metrics. It holds up against elite competition. Like Barca can just go outscore everybody. They're going to need to score a lot. They're my pick to win the Champions League. Because they got the very friendly path, the easiest path of all the favorites. But it would be a disaster if they didn't at least make the semis.
Yeah, there's a lot of young talent on Barcelona, which they're, that's kind of what they do. Offensively, they're magnificent. You can fall in love with them. I think that's why everybody picks them, right? Because everybody loves watching Barcelona's offense, but we forget that sometimes the defense does not show up. So that is the question mark, but I like the odds there. Plus 450, and we like the path. You also like Leverkusen, right? At 30-1 is a long shot, and you're kind of buying the hype, and that's a club that's very under the radar right now going into Champions League.
Yeah, prior to last season, they actually had a nickname that was Neverkusen because they had never won the German Bundesliga. But they ditched the nickname, they won the league, and they made it to the Europa League final. So they have some European pedigree. The manager, Xabi Alonso, has proven himself to be a tactician, very flexible. And that's what I like about Leverkusen. Like, of course, they're 30-1 for a reason. They're not as talented as maybe the top 4 to 5 teams. But if you like them against Bayern, and you like them against Inter, which I kind of do if they get to that spot in the quarters, what I like about Leverkusen is they're very tactically flexible. They don't rely on one way of playing. They don't have to press. They don't have to dominate possession. They can kind of, adjust to their opponent well. And they've shown that, in some impressive performances this season across, the Champions League and across the Bundesliga, like I said, with the Bayern games. So I think, they're probably the best long shot on the board. Ultimately, it would surprise me if the winner of this wasn't Liverpool, Arsenal, Real Madrid, or Barca. But I think the next best team is probably Leverkusen.
I like it. Let's talk about Liverpool. They're obviously top right now in the EPL. Man City, not in the Champions League. They're out. So that's a usual suspect that we are not going to see. But in the EPL, what is so fascinating about those top 4 teams and how they're going to finish out? And then just the majestic nature of Mo Salah in this moment. You mentioned The Last Dance. It is giving that vibe across the board.
Yeah, so the Premier League record for most goals and assists in a season is a tie at 47, set back in the 90s, before the Premier League even technically came to be in 93. So it's like the old English First Division. That record's going to fall. Mo Salah needs 6 goals and assists to break the record. He's got 10 matches to do it. We fully expect him to break that record. And keep in mind, this is a contract year, Mo Salah. This is a Mo Salah who didn't have as dominant of a season last year. He was very good, but he didn't look like anything close to the player we saw this year. And this is him doing it in a 32-year-old season, right? He's supposed to be post-peak, but he's not, right? And that's what made this so incredible. And also, I think Liverpool, with their changing manager, and them having Alexander-Arnold and Van Dijk, 2 of their best defenders, and Alexander-Arnold, arguably the best right back in the world, all on contract years, all maybe leaving the club this summer. Like, this was it. Their one chance, and they're taking it, right? They're going to win the Premier League. As for the rest of the race, it is interesting this year because not just the top 4 will make the Champions League, but it's almost certainly going to be the top 5. And so the betting markets, they grade top 4, but top 5 is kind of how this gets judged for how the clubs will view it and getting into the Champions League. And the team in 3rd place is Nottingham Forest, and they're very interesting. I kind of akin them to a horse. When the horse... It isn't a great horse, but has a really first, strong out of the gates. And then the horse runs out of gas and it's trying to just barely hold off the better horses. That's where Nottingham Forest is right now. They've really been struggling the last, month or so, and they're in 3rd. But I ultimately think they probably fall out to the Chelsea, Newcastle, City contingent that's just behind them in the standings.
Yeah, I feel like that's the horse that I always bet on that you're talking about. You get really excited early on. You're like, I knew it. This is the one. And then come the thoroughbreds on the back end, and the rest is history. And like you said, there's a lot of good clubs right behind them, nipping at their heels. We're talking soccer, and we're in the U.S., so we have to ask you about the U.S. men's national team. Players to watch for the 2026 World Cup. Who should we be circling? Who should we be highlighting that's out there and getting us excited that we actually have a club that can compete again?
So there's two names, one of which is already an established starter, Anthony Robinson. He's a left back and the captain of Fulham. He's got 10 Premier League assists this season. I think he's in line for a huge move. Liverpool could be needing a left back with Andy Robertson aging. Manchester United is definitely needing a left back, although you could argue that Fulham is in a better place right now than Manchester United.
It's crazy.
So there's all kinds of uncertainty about his future, but as far as the U.S. men's national team goes, I think he's kind of underrated, under-discussed as a player. It's rare that an American player is this good in the Premier League. We've had plenty of players who have made it to the league, but none of them have excelled in the way that Robinson has. So he's the kind of the number 2 most important player or best player behind Pulisic right now on the team. And then the second player and somebody who could be emerging is Johnny Cardoso. He's a central midfielder for Real Betis in Spain. Really impressive performance against Real Madrid over the weekend in their 2-1 win against Madrid. So he's somebody that could be emerging as maybe the next midfield option.
Great name. I just feel like Johnny Cardoso sounds like an American. Like when I close my eyes and I hear the highlight, like Cardoso to Pulisic, you can hear it in your head. So I like Cardoso.
And he wears Johnny on the back for the national team too, which is cool. We love
Johnny Tsunami. Like there's a lot of names out there for him, so he'll have fun. Take a quick break. We'll be right back on the other side of this. We're going to talk some MLB and some college basketball with Anthony Dabbundo. We'll be right back on the other side of the break. Welcome back to Thru the Ringer. We're here with Anthony Dabbundo. We just solved soccer and figured out football, and now we're going to talk some college basketball. It is the time of the year where we get conference tournaments. The small-time tournaments are this week. The bigger power conferences start next week. I know you're locked in. You're an aficionado. You know what's going on. What tournament are you zeroing in on and watching as we kind of get into the best times of March?
Yeah, I mean, all the chaos of like the first few days of all the big conference ones, Wednesday and Thursday of next week are always a lot of fun just because there's so many games. There's just guaranteed to be drama somewhere. You just keep clicking around on the remote. But the first weekend, I think the creme de la creme is Arch Madness. I feel like it always brings the drama. The games are always in the 50s. They're always seemingly close. And so I like Bradley this weekend. Bradley plus 340. Drake is the darling. They have a lot of new players to this program that haven't done the Arch Madness before, new coach. And I know they have a lot of continuity with each other, but this is a big pressure moment for them. And I love Bradley's profile because they shoot the three really well, they play the slow, and they beat Drake head-to-head in their most recent meeting at Drake, and it was a toss-up game down to the wire, 61-59, a classic Arch Madness game. So I think they're able to compete with Drake, and if they get to the final, they'll be underdogs, rightfully so. Drake's the best team in the league. But Bradley's kind of got the guys that have been through the Arch Madness grind before, and I think that's worth something in this environment. So plus 340, Bradley to upset Drake. I hope Drake would still get a bid, but I don't know. It would be really dicey. We've seen so many of those mid-majors get left out.
I do think they get in that large bid just because Ben McCollum is so high profile this season because of the D2 guys that he brought up with him. Bennett Sturts, who's been one of the best players in the country. I do think they can get in that large bid. So maybe if you are, the NBC, you're sitting there and you're saying we could get two bids. Maybe we let Bradley win this one. Maybe Ben McCollum has an interview with Indiana and he's thinking about that instead of the game. So I like that path. I like that call. And Arch Madness, as you said, is one of the best tournaments. A lot of good tournaments. Go check them out. Best bet to make the men's Final Four. You can go to FanDuel right now and look at all these futures. There are two teams that you have circled, and they have come from a very unlikely conference. Who do you like, Anthony Dabbundo, to make the Final Four?
I like Clemson and Louisville as two long shots. Two teams that both rank inside the top 15 in Torvik since January 1st. And I think it's easy to sit back and poo-poo that. Oh, wow, they play in the ACC. What a joke league. ACC has consistently overperformed in March the last few years, and it's come at the expense of these overhyped juggernaut conferences like the Big 12 last year, like the, dare I say, SEC this year. And what happens is teams run good in the non-conference. SEC has a ton of athletes who maybe gel together quicker than some of these ACC schools do. Who knows why? I mean, look at Oklahoma, right? Like they shot 100%.
Yeah, there's a myriad of reasons, right?
Exactly. So teams run really good for a couple months. We all generate our perceptions of these teams early, and then basically nothing can happen in conference play because everybody, the league goes 500, as the joke is in the SEC Twitter. The league goes 500 because they all beat up on each other, and we just assume they get the high KenPom ratings, the high top 25 rankings in the polls, the high seeds, and then they maybe don't live up to the hype. And I think the SEC is at risk of doing that this year, and the ACC is almost the opposite, especially in this transfer portal era where teams take longer to gel. There's more turnover. There's more continuity changes. So what a team is in November when they get cooked in Maui is not always what a team is by March when maybe the talent gap coalesces closer together, even if the efficiency gap isn't there. So I think there's value on the ACC teams as a result. And I like both Clemson and Louisville as my favorite long shots. I think it's going to be another year of the ACC. Maybe they only get 4 teams in, but they overperform with those teams.
Yeah, right now they're saying they only get 3 teams in, and both those teams, Chase Hunter for Clemson, they have a great guard that took him to the Elite Eight last year. If you look at Louisville, you got Chucky Hepburn, who is having one of the best seasons, very under the radar. So you got 2 great guards on those teams. In the ACC 2022, 2023, 2024, they got 15 bids. The expected wins are around 17. They ended up with 33 wins during that period of time, and again, put another team in the Final Four last year with NC State, a team that got in the tournament because they won the ACC tournament. So watch out for the ACC when it comes to March. There's just something there that always happens. Let's flip to baseball. Let's look at the NL East. This is something near and dear to your heart. You know this division very well. It's in your backyard with the Phillies. We got the Braves, Phillies, Mets. They're all kind of around the same odds. Who do you like in the NL East as we look at these futures?
I mean, the Phillies are the defending National League East champs. I'm going to be reminding everybody of that all year. I think it's going to be so much fun. I mean, 3 of the top 6 teams in the whole sport playing in the same division is electric. If you made me bet a team, I think I would take the Braves, but I wouldn't take them at plus 135. I would actually take them to get a bye at plus 170, 175 is out there, because since the MLB has changed the format in 2022, where the top 2 division winners get the bye and the third does not, the central team, St. Louis and Milwaukee, all 3 years was that team. And I really don't think anybody in the central, the top 2 teams are the Cubs and the Brewers. The Cardinals, none of them have the ceiling to catch whoever ends up winning this division. So even if you don't like the Braves, maybe you like the Phillies, maybe you like the Mets, you shouldn't even take their division price. You should take their buy price, because we pretty much know that the winner of the West and the winner of the East are going to be the 2 teams that get the bye, because you have to be really freaking good to win the East because of how many good teams there are. So I just don't think the Central has the ceiling like these East teams do. So Braves are probably, if you made me bet a team right now, but there's some questions about them too, with Strider and Acuna coming off major injuries.
Yeah, you're hoping Acuna gets back to who he was beforehand, but like you said, coming back from injury, there's always a proposition that it's not the same. Let's flip to the AL. Let's look at the futures to win the AL. The Yankees are the favorites, plus 300. The Orioles right behind them, plus 600. Astros, plus 850. Red Sox, plus 900. Who do you like in the AL?
Yeah, I think the top half of the AL is super flawed. Like, the Yankees were so reliant on Soto and Judge last year. They do have the deepest pitching on paper, and that will carry them for sure. They added a bona fide all-star closer in Devin Williams, but I think the Yankees are flawed. I think Baltimore, in theory, would be a good post-type sleeper type, because last year they faded and everybody forgets about them, and now they're still really young and talented, but the pitching just isn't there. Their starting rotation is weak. And then Houston, I think, is on the downturn of a dynasty here, where I think they've kind of hit their wall. And so that opens the door for Boston and Texas, and it's kind of a choose-your-fighter situation. Ultimately, I trust the high-end pitching and the experience of Texas more. I think the division is weaker. So I think Texas is the best bet on the board right now, especially for somebody like a Jacob deGrom to potentially come back, look healthy, stay healthy, and be like, if he's good for the playoffs, that's still a top 5 pitcher in the sport. And they have a deep lineup with some young guys too. So Texas would be my team in the American League.
Anthony Dabbundo, we appreciate you as always. Where can we find all your amazing work? And then we'll let you go enjoy the rest of your day, man.
Yeah, I'm on the Ringer Soccer Show talking through Champions League. I'll be writing that, doing some March Madness with JJ on the Ringer Gambling Show. And then I think I'm coming on OSP for a little March Madness betting and maybe bracket talk in a couple weeks. So can't wait. Best month of the year. Debatably, at least the second best month of the year.
Yeah, it's up there. It's definitely not the worst month of the year, which is the good news. And Kyle is working on making sure that you're up to date on all the topics that we need for the show. We appreciate you doing that, and hop on the show as always. Anthony Dabbundo, go check him out. Go read him on theringer.com, and we will be right back after the break. There you have it for another edition of Thru the Ringer. Shout out to Cousin Sal, as always, for coming to the show, and major props and major respect to Anthony Dabbundo for staying locked in on all things Champions League. We appreciate him coming on the show. I'm sure we'll have him back in the future to break down what's happening in the world of soccer and beyond. Thanks to you for watching Thru the Ringer, and we will see you next week.